session, guys.
Okay, this is Chad Penry with Money X Live Event. I'm here speaking with professional surfer / entrepreneur Bron Heussenstamm. Bron, you were a professional surfer for a number of years, and can you kind of tell us a little bit about your background and growing up in Laguna, is it?
Yeah, Laguna Beach. Well, my dad was actually a professional surfer,
Okay.
so he used to push me in when I was little, and I would just kick and scream. I hated it. But I got into every other sport. I played, like Little League and soccer, with traveling soccer teams and whatnot. And then everyone in Laguna just decided that surfing was the way to go.
Yeah.
And I hate being bad at anything. I can't stand it. And I was the worst of all my friends surfing. So I figured that I would surf twice as much as everyone else over a course of like 3 years and get better than them. And somehow it actually ended up working. So
Nice.
that was just the thing. That's kind of how it came to be.
And you toured the world for a number of years on the World Qualifying Tour, correct?
Yeah, when I didn't actually do my first NSSA until I was 17, which is super late. I mean, a lot of guys retired from the NSSA at like 16. So I got there, I was the worst. I think I was the last guy to qualify for nationals, and then the next year I was number 2, and then the next year I was number 3 on the Pro Junior Tour, and I kind of convinced my parents and my family, like, this is a viable option. And so my dad was already a surfer, so I think secretly he was kind of stoked.
Nice.
But I just decided, I was going to do it, and kind of just, I had no idea what to do. I just kind of followed a lot of the older guys around from Orange County and Laguna Beach, and ended up doing it for about 4 years.
Cool. So hard work and dedication and doing something that you love paid off for you?
Yeah, all the above.
Nice.
Yeah, no, we were talking earlier, it would be weird to think, if I didn't grow up in Laguna, and because, I'm so competitive, I played every sport. It just so happened that that was the sport that everybody wanted to play in Laguna. And I'm still frustrated that I can't play basketball or anything like that. But, it all ended up working out well in the end.
Cool. And then you took the transition and you decided maybe surfing wasn't going to be the best career choice for you, so you went to college. You went to USC, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, I like to be the best, and I didn't end up being the best surfer.
Right.
So I gave it about 4 years, solid touring, and a couple things happened. It's kind of right after 9/11. Kind of had the company I was riding for at the time, let's just call it the Realm, and it went out of business, which was really frustrating for me personally. And then right when, it was kind of right at the peak of my career, 9/11 happened, and the company's just completely shut down. It was just horrible timing for me, and so I kind of started really weighing my options as like, wow, if I was in the same situation again in 3 or 4 years, like what could I do? I can't get a job, I've got no education or anything. So that was kind of the point for me where it was like, this isn't going to be around forever. There's not always going to be a check there at the end of the month. Maybe it's about time I start taking stuff into my own hands a little bit more. And so that's when I decided to go back to school.
That's great. So you took responsibility for your life and decided to dedicate a certain number of years to continue your education. And
yeah, that, and I was flat poor.
Yeah, right.
Because it's weird, you go from making a lot of money surfing, and then all of a sudden those checks aren't there anymore, and your options are so limited without any kind of education. I mean, we don't even. It's not really a craft or a trade like a lot of other things, and it's not popular enough to really like go branch out. So you're kind of limited to becoming like a marketing director in the surfing industry, or you have some kind of other passion that you're able to capitalize on. But for me, my passion was always like business and competing, so that's kind of why I wanted to go back to school, kind of make that happen. So
nice. And you majored in entrepreneurship. You got your degree in that, and I understand you also were the budgeting manager for your fraternity. Was it the CFO?
Yeah, well, it's president.
President.
My path was a little weird. I had one friend from actually kindergarten who I had lost touch with, bumped into him at a party, and he's like, hey, I go to USC now, you got to come up for a football game. I had never been to USC. I went to one football game and saw the girls there and was like, what do I have to do to go to school here? This is freaking awesome, right? So went to Saddleback, took 3 semesters, the only school I applied to. Got in, overjoyed. Got there and was like, I didn't know how many guy friends I was going to make, because I was a little older. It's a 23-year-old sophomore, which only is cool in movies called Van Wilder. So I went there. I didn't know if I was going to make any guy friends. Ended up knowing one kid from Laguna who was a little younger. He was in this fraternity. I went to one party with them, and I was like, what do I got to do to be in this fraternity? It was like, not only am I at USC, but this is even better. And so I told them if I joined that I'd have to be in charge. That's kind of my personality. And they said, sure, next semester. So that was it. And I was president of it the next year. And
Nice.
yeah, we had 80 guys, and everybody would put their money in, and all of our money went to parties. So we had a freaking fantastic time. Highly recommend college.
Nice. So how important was learning about finances and budgeting the money in order to pay for all the parties and all the things that you guys wanted to do? How important is it to set up a budget and stick to it and work with it?
Well, I mean, setting up a budget was really important. I mean, at the beginning of the semester, I would sit down. I think the last semester we had about 80 grand. So for me, after doing a number of events, you could start to put up like, okay, this big event's going to cost us 10 grand. So, we've got enough for 4 of those and food here, and really budget it out over the semester. And then my whole goal was to always just beat whatever my budget was. So at the end of the year, we could just have some kind of fun money, and that's when the fraternity stuff really starts taking off. You get all the bells and whistles, and we had at one time I had our fraternity, we get like an elephant to walk down the row or something because you have a bunch of money at the end, just because.
Why not?
Fraternity stuff, right? Yeah, because that was much better than investing that money or something else. So we would just throw it at trying to make ourselves look cooler than everybody else.
That's cool. I never met an elephant I didn't like either. So, how do you apply that same budgeting principles to your life now? Let's say for a young adult coming up, starting to save money, how important is it to them to save money and budget to achieve their elephants in life?
Well, I mean, I think I could preach this one a lot better than I've been able to do it myself. Yeah. But I think that, I learned a ton doing the fraternity. Like you said, I was an entrepreneur major, so that was fantastic. It was a lot of, spreadsheets and business plans. So putting those two together, I mean, I would have never known going into a business that I was going to start if I hadn't have taken the course that I did there. Just the correct way to budget, the correct way to forecast, the correct way to do the research, and not just be like, oh, well, this camera over here is going to cost $1,000, so I'll just make sure I have enough money when that day comes along, and not, being prepared for it and making sure that the money was actually there when it was supposed to be, So having that education about financing and planning, it was everything. There's just no way I could have done it without it.
That's great. And what about the opportunity now being presented with, now the Money X Live event coming up with a lot of celebrities and athletes coming out? It's going to be like an MTV-style video award show mixed with education, promoting financial literacy. Is that something you wish you had when you were coming up?
Yeah, like we talked about before, having the opportunity at a younger age to be able to kind of financially plan, especially in someone like my situation, because I was 18 years old. I basically, I graduated high school with a 2.6 because all I did was wanted to go surfing, and I would get those checks at the end every month and just spend them. And the thought of one day that those weren't going to be there, or that I could invest them in some way. I think I tried to buy a house at one time. My grandparents were like, "You're crazy." I was like, well, that house only tripled like 2 years later, so I wish they would have actually done that. But just the foresight and the planning to be able to know what to do with that money, not just put it in the checking account and go spend it or run up the credit cards. I mean, coming from high school, we had no training whatsoever, and then obviously not going to college and learning anything from business. I mean, to be able to have that education at a younger age would have been extremely beneficial to me personally.
That's something we are a big proponent of is teaching financial literacy, because they don't offer that education in schools. They don't teach you how to budget your checkbook in high school most of the time. So that's something we're definitely advocates of. Now let's talk about your entrepreneurship major. Now you started your own business. It's called Saxon International. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I really wanted to go back to school, was just so I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's all I've kind of ever wanted to do.